is just that. He's razor sharp.
Charlie Cameron gets his moment, puts the Jets on, has a bounce, sized them up, gave it away, the 1-2, cheeky Charlie, how good was that?
Now Dunkley from a standing start. It'll land right in the hot spot and floating across in front was McCluggey. Oh, Danaher's juggled it. He jumped up onto the head of Collins.
Big moment, Hipwood gets a toe on it, and it's celebration time at the moment for the Lions. They have poured them on.
7 wins on the trot, 9 against the Suns. Another 4 goals from Joe, and a Marcus Ashcroft medal going the way of Lachie Neale. That is round 10 in the books, and it's JB and Patrick here from the Brisbane Lions fan cast to cast our eye over round 10. Have a look forward to the game against the Crows before we head into the bye. Mate, thanks for coming back.
Glad to be here. That was expertly done, that little intro. I in a million years would never be able to achieve that.
Oh well, thanks very much.
Yeah, it's a bit of positive reinforcement early on a Monday morning. So
let's do this right off the bat. No changes to the team.
Did we both have the really, really paranoid idea of being like, okay, well let's do this in order this time. So
the only change being Cal Archie, the sub this week, which we both had a chat before hitting record, was a welcome change, even though we both really quite like Noah Answorth as a member of the team in one way or the other. I think Cal Archie was a great substitute. He's always been that versatile player, and when he came on, made a bit of a difference. Game was done and dusted by then, but it was good to have him.
Yeah, he put himself out there. Also to note, 100 games from Lake McCarthy, out of a possible 102, to really put things in perspective with his time at Geelong, and 50 for little Kitty Coleman. So some nice little milestones, I think, there. The Suns could have had a guy playing their 400th game, and I wouldn't have cared. So
yeah, fair enough.
Now, so before heading into the game, I was really interested with the mano-a-mano duel between Witts and Mr. Big O. And I don't think it disappointed. I think it was very interesting throughout the day. Witts is a really good ruckman.
He is.
He's a really good ruckman and severely underrated and has been for a long time. And I will definitely lift his importance from just some conversations I've had with my older brother, who rates him very highly. But yeah, it was really good to see Big O. You know, this is one of the ones where I don't think the hitouts necessarily tell the full story. The idea of competing and almost playing as a bit of a body-on-body defensive style ruckman was really advantageous to the team. So that was one thing that I had my eye on, and I just thought it was a really good battle throughout the game. There were a lot of hitouts between the two of them. I think I heard on SEN last night that Witts had maybe 51 hitouts and 38, which to me strikes as a lot of stoppages, but that is what it is. But yeah, in the first quarter, it was a bit of a cagey sort of start.
Yeah, I thought the first quarter the Suns played the better footy and missed some opportunities, and it was really surprising that we were up at quarter time. Just to touch back on Big O there, I don't think Chad Witts necessarily gave Oscar a bath, but I definitely thought he gave him a lesson throughout the day. But to Oscar's credit, just kept battling all day, and as the game wore on, sort of got his opportunities a little bit more with a few different avenues, especially out of the contest. The other week, I asked you the question, where do you put Oscar in the terms of league-wide ruckman, and we both sort of settled on that 5 to 10 bracket for Oscar. Throughout the week, Dermot Brereton, for whatever reason, has ranked his top 10 on SEN. And
I didn't think to bring this up because I don't know whether Dermot Brereton is the greatest pure judger of ruckman, but I'm glad you did because it's funny.
And he has got him sitting at number 5 above Tim English, who is having a fantastic season. So a bit of a strange one, but it does sort of reinforce our point that he is that 5 to 10 bracket for sure.
Interesting to note he had Witts at 4.
Yes.
Maybe he just doesn't like Tim English's hair, and let's be honest, I don't either. So
it's very similar to Dermot Brereton, so I can't imagine why he would.
That's what I mean. Maybe it's a weird, look in the rabid dog mirror, but who knows?
All right. Yes, the first quarter, I thought the Suns played the better footy. I think Bailey Humphrey especially had a fantastic first half. Really came out of the blocks, and Yeah, they left some goals out there. It's sort of the second or third week in a row where teams have really clogged up our forward line by dropping a number back and making it hard for us to convert those inside 50s into scores on the board. Essendon was like really blatant about it last week, but the Suns did a good job this week at it as well, and Charlie Ballard made the most of it. He had an impressive game as well.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be out for 10 weeks with a broken neck, but apparently not. Yeah, I think it's interesting to see teams they are trying to take our game away from us a bit more probably since before the Essendon game, but Essendon, I think, as you rightly said, did tend to indicate that they chose Levi Casbolt instead of Chol. I think they wanted the bigger body rather than the athleticism because they knew that they'd probably be beat or matched, which I think initially worked pretty well for them. Casbolt's an odd fellow and does a lot of the right things that a certain team in navy blue might need at the moment from a full forward.
Yeah. I don't know that many Carlton fans are sitting back going, oh, if only we had Casbolt.
Yeah, no, I don't either. It's just funny because to see a guy, score a check side was pretty funny. Yeah, I definitely thought we weren't quite clicking early on. We sort of needed a bit of a kick in the pants, but I kind of thought we'd lead at quarter time. I think they might have been 7 points up or 3 points up or something, and I was sort of just like, we'll probably net a couple of goals here, and we did. So it's odd to kind of have a level of faith of kind of scoreboard pressure and that efficiency inside forward 50 at times where you're like, they'll probably just score. And I think it might have been Ashcroft and some other lovely schmuck that did the damage. Danaher with the greatest mark since Junior Rioli in round one. I think it was. That kind of thing comes and goes, doesn't it?
Yeah, I didn't feel good about that. Apart from the fact that I thought it was after the siren that the mark was taken and the fact that Sean Lemons probably took the mark, I didn't feel good about Joe Danaher just walking back and slotting a goal after the quarter time siren because I didn't think we deserved it. But you know what, that's footy and that happens. And luckily it wasn't a close game in the end that people aren't going to look back on and be like, wow, let's all trace it back to this.
Well, it was interesting that the goal after quarter time was that pretty weak 50-metre penalty on Charlie Cameron as well. So it was interesting to go in, getting ahead of ourselves, go in a goal up at half time, having two goals that were kind of a bit bollocks. I mean, that Charlie Cameron free kick was as soft as the Max Gawn one on the Friday night of him being apparently blocked 3 times going to the bench. But so 2 free kicks led to pretty comfortable goals or a mark that wasn't a mark. I don't know. The rule with the siren going, is it not the siren goes and then when it's called or whatever? But I mean,
yeah,
I don't think we're allowing interpretation of things because there's so much at stake and the ease of which it is not to have that is there.
I think it's I think the official sort of when the quarter's over is the whistle after the siren, but yeah. I don't know.
It kind of begs the question is what's the point of a siren if it's waiting on the whistle? Like you got a massive train horn. Interesting. So we led at quarter time. I definitely think that Gold Coast were they would have been aggrieved, I think. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I can't seem to find the quarter breakdown of the game.
Well, I thought by the time the second quarter rolled around and we really had the chance to change the game there and sort of put some real scoreboard pressure on them. Berry missed a sitter, Cam Rayner missed a goal he normally kicks. Those 2 goals we left out there that really could have put us out to 4 or 5 goals. And then that last minute of the second quarter where Ben King kicked 2, one from serious ill discipline of the 6-6-6 rule not being followed, that kept them within a kick at half time, and then the third quarter was sort of a 0-0 draw and they got within 5 points and then we just blew them away in the last quarter. So it's coming down to those teams clogging up our forward line, trying to stay within spitting distance and then hoping that they can sort of roll the dice in the last half of the game and roll over the top. But again, we've walked away with a 7-goal win that hasn't necessarily felt like it. I thought the scoreboard flattered us in the end. Yeah,
true. However, how many times probably early on prior to 2020 or inclusive have we been in a situation where we've kicked poorly and coughed up a lead against good teams that do tend to punish you. Whether it's, I don't know, I get going in at quarter time, 4 goals 2 to 2 goals 5. Maybe in the cold light of day, how many of those chances are kind of less desirable? Not quite ones in front, not quite good chances at kicking a goal, and that might be what leads to the inaccuracy. But yeah, definitely that second quarter, couple of missed opportunities. Poor old Jared Berry. I don't think I remember or know of a more stressed looking guy, heading in for a set shot. He just looks like he's brokenhearted, sunken eyes. Oh, breaks my heart.
And thankfully, we're not sort of relying on him to be our bloody big goal kicker in most games, and he certainly makes up for it in other ways. But yeah, it's
No, but he got a look, and he probably should kick 2. I thought Bailey kicked a really good goal.
Yes.
He just sort of stopped and propped and ran in between about 3 dudes, and that was impressive.
I was worried he was going to get pinged for too far for a second as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, can you get pinged for too far when you're stationary?
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that sort of held him in good stead there. But yeah, he's sort of held the ball on for a while, and 1 or 2 more steps and he might have been in danger.
Or is it like one of those things where you're on a train, but your train's stationary and the other trains are going, so it seems like you're moving a lot more than you're not? I don't know, maybe count everybody else's steps around him. I thought, we've talked about Jack Payne a fair bit, but I thought his field kicking was really good in the second quarter, taking on corridor ball. It's interesting, you see people, and when they're confident with their kicking, they're kicking the ball to almost make the decision for the next player for that player.
Yep.
So putting it out in front, putting it to advantage, things like that. Yeah, it's refreshing from someone that I think we both have spoken about was a little bit stressful sometimes with his field kicking, but he seems full of confidence, and that's only a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You can just tell with each game he's getting more and more confidence in himself, not only as a defender but with his ball use, and having Harris down there in that captain position has really helped him as well, because Harris has got that belief in him as well. I thought Darcy Wilmot had a fantastic game. He's not going to make my votes, but he's very stiff to miss out. I think that was his best game for the club.
Yeah, I think he had the most intercept possessions on the day, by a lot, I think. And he did a couple of kicks that just went they were like a artillery mortar that just went sky high and landed perfectly on the dude. And you're send that man to the battlefront and he will be, he'll be popping dudes very, very efficiently. I think with him, he's kind of a bit of a mixed bag. He's playing off half back, seemingly more so now, but you do tend to get a little bit of, you might sacrifice a bit of disposal efficiency for just that pure enthusiasm. And I think it's odd. It's a bit like a couple of years ago when Alex Witherden came into the team in the back half of a year, and you kind of they front up in round 1 and you're yeah, that guy's played for a year, but he's only played for 10 games or whatever. It's sort of, how has that guy not had a Rising Star nomination? Probably because he hasn't had the level of disposal. But the consistency, albeit we've talked about him being a little bit in flux, but I think he's learning a lot. And yeah, he's had 22 disposals.
Yeah.
How?
It's a good game. He's had a great game.
Would you give him a bit of a nod to a Rising Star nom, you reckon?
I think he'll get one by the end of the year. I don't think he'll register in your top 5 by the time votes roll around at the end of the year, but I think he's definitely deserving of a nomination at the very least. And I think Rich being out for this extended period has probably helped him as well, that little bit. He's not chopping and changing quite so much between halfback and the wing.
Yeah, we had Sharpie on the wing again, and I thought this was probably his best game.
Yeah, he's got better every week. It was interesting that we used him as the sub.
Yeah, it's not something I necessarily agreed with. Again, I didn't know who got subbed, because I don't. Maybe they did it at 3/4 time and I missed it because I was, I don't know, getting a snack or something. But yeah, I had to play whack-a-mole as to who was on or off. I think because I might have been a touch delayed on the broadcast because of reasons. Neither here nor there. I shouldn't blame things on my own problems.
Well, yeah, it did. I think it did happen at 3/4 time, and then I think Archie got in the mix fairly early on in the quarter, and Lynchy sort of called it once he saw that Archie was on the ground, and he did make reference to it on the broadcast. Speaking of the broadcast, what an A-grade commentary lineup. Kelly Underwood, Dwayne Russell, and Dermot Brereton. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving on.
Anyway, second half.
Get in touch anytime. Shoot us an email at blfancast@gmail.com or join the Discord.
Touched on it before, the moronic last 30 seconds that involved, I think, a turnover, a dumb free kick, a goal, and then you're like, oh, cool, there's like 7 seconds up, and it's gone. Cool. And we haven't cut off the ball. So really, really, really as bad as I've seen end to a quarter or a half of football. You know, Fagan loves his quartered statistics of, you know, winning quarters and things like that. He will be ticked off with that, I can assume. And I wouldn't have been surprised if he gave one of his like mega sprays at halftime.
Yeah, I was sort of hoping for it, especially after that last minute, because it's obviously fresh in the minds of everyone, the way that quarter's ended. And, you know, even if he was preparing to walk down and going, oh yeah, we've done well here, done this bit good, or we could probably improve here, but then that last sort of minute happens where Ben King puts on 2 goals, and you're like, bugger all that stuff I was just thinking about. What the hell's wrong with you?
I think sometimes they need just a bit of a kick up the bottom. Third quarter, again, another situation where I sort of thought it was quite a messy quarter, and I think that might just be the nature of a lot of the games trying to detract from us across the board. Harry Sharp kicked a good goal. Really good goal.
That finishing was really nice.
It was perfectly in line with the camera and everything. And just, you know, it was in from the moment he hit it, as they do say. And they got around him. I think they probably knew that they kind of cocked that one up a few weeks ago. So that was good. Hipwood kind of came into the game a little bit more in the third quarter in like a more tangible sense. Again, another situation of him having low disposals. Ended with 2 goals, 2 goal assists. I haven't checked this, but I would be willing to bet heavily that he is the highest ranked goal assist key forward in the competition. I think he had been sitting at about a 1.5, which doesn't sound like much, but direct goal assists, he tends to rank elite in that, which is good. Mr. Jodan is currently elite in his goal kicking averages, so it's all kind of working pretty well. Although his hair, Hipwood's hair, I feel like anything would help. It's like, I haven't shaved my head. I'll be honest. Haven't shaved my head, so I don't understand how a shaved head grows back. But his hair is all the same length. So it's like the long bit at the back and it's so straight, like, and wispy, like brown smoke, or I don't know. Do you reckon do you reckon he's going back to his old first year headband days?
I mean, he might be heading back towards there. He might be.
He's got to do something.
I thought, generally speaking, going briefly back to the first half, both him and Joe were just mistiming the ball completely in the way they were launching for it. They were either way too early or way too late, and it allowed Charlie Ballard to do his thing, but it did correct itself in the second half. But it was just strange.
Yeah, I mean, I don't find that all that surprising, because it does tend to happen quite a lot, or more so with these numpties than a lot of other teams. So maybe set the watch a bit better for that timing. I don't know. The way the game is at the moment is just, even teams that are, I don't know, like, because I don't think the Suns are going to play finals this year. But
no, probably
they're not a bad team. They could. That's like, if basically any team, other than the 3 idiots down the bottom, played in, you know, made it into 8th spot, you wouldn't necessarily want to play them. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, you're right. I think anyone on their day, barring Hawthorn, North and West Coast, have the ability to cause an upset, because you're looking at GWS and Richmond and the Suns, the 3 teams above that. And, you know, GWS have pushed every single team they've played. Richmond have been, you know, peeling off the odd win here and there against someone that they might not have normally. The Suns leading into this game, 3 of their last 4, including wins over Tigers and Geelong, and pushing Melbourne to the last moments of a game as well. So they weren't in bad form. So you're not wrong.
It's just, I think you kind of think, maybe it's just an odd mental block that you go in and you're like, okay, cool. We should be winning this game comfortably. And then you're like, that's a struggle. Like they all seem to be a bit of a struggle. And as to whether that's an element of where the game is tactically in the ability to, detract from a team to make it, a bit more of an arm wrestle or a bit more of a kind of a street fight rather than just like, all right, whoever has the best players will win. I think that's really good for the Brisbane Lions as a team because I think it's almost a more finals way of playing footy throughout the season where you're relying on your contest, you're relying on your kind of team. A lot of people throw the word system out. You rely on your system and then you allow kind of your good players to make the difference. And that's really, in a nutshell, what happens in finals.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot that gets said, sort of thrown up about, we'll judge the Lions based on what they do in September. They're kind of just treading water until they get to finals. Yeah, fair enough. But also I think last season we dropped the ball during the home and away season, not necessarily during the finals.
Yeah.
Because finishing 6th was almost a death knell. And the way that we played and the intensity we brought to finals, albeit might have been a cause and effect based on where we finished on the table. Had we played as we did against Richmond and against Melbourne in a top 4 position, might have seen us play in a grand final. So it's interesting. I understand the idea of like, yeah, we need to wait and see what happens in finals, but you got to get it done. We need to be finishing top 2 this season.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Kane Corns has been harping on about anytime he talks about the Lions, and we're putting ourselves in a good enough position at the moment. I mean, we're not halfway through the season yet, and bloody anything could change. Any list is only a couple of injuries away from really bottling it. So,
well, yeah, it is like with Geelong dropping another game, I kind of harp back to my own prophetic statement of number of losses you can afford while still finishing in a top 4. And it's kind of like, Geelong, they probably aren't going to finish top 4 this year. They would have to win every game.
Yeah.
And even then they're finishing 3rd or 4th. And do they tend to do as well finishing in 3rd or 4th? Or are they're more of a top 2 team, I think we're in a far better position than I think you and I ever thought we'd be in given the opening couple of rounds.
Yes.
And I do stand entirely corrected by that. But, geez, like judging the team based on what they did, it was hard to say. Sorry, that was my big tangent going off of my simple note of Suns ain't bad. So,
well, I mean, to consolidate your point there, I mean, I think we both agree, and a lot of the wider footy community agree that Adelaide are a very good team. And they are just sitting in 8th position on percentage. So
I think Adelaide are almost the best team to watch. Their football tends to make the most kind of logical sense. It's very nice to watch. Everything seems to work. They make all the decisions that almost like you'd make if it was like a video game, not the video game that just came out that's apparently a train wreck. But yeah, they're a lot of fun to watch. They obviously had a difficult time in Ballarat, and I think we can definitely relate to that. But that's neither here nor there. Who cares? 4th quarter's where it opened up, though.
Yeah, absolutely. It was party time by then. I think whether it was general fitness or we just decided, all right, let's get this game done. Certain players really stepped up in that last quarter. Eric got the results on the board. Everyone chimed in with goals. Link got one in there. Even Huey's taken a mark, drifting across the front of a pack and getting a mark, 10 metres out from goal, which is not something you see, a contested mark from McCluggage. But I guess in the end it was almost uncontested. But yeah, we really put the foot down, and then it ends up being a 7-8 goal win.
I thought McCluggage was pretty good. There was a lot of him kind of just like crabbing on all fours at the bottom of packs.
Yeah.
Throughout the game, like kind of almost this weird, like lateral movement was good. It's good to see him getting hands on the ball. It's also good to see him get the ball out as well, because he was getting caught a lot early on in the season. If he can work his way into form in the back half of the season, that's going to be great. I didn't really write any notes for the 4th quarter because I think I was just enjoying it for what it was. One of the goal umpires did look a lot like Jordan Lewis.
Can't say I noticed.
That's all I got.
I did notice. What I did notice is that even the umpires and the goal umpires had their sort of Sir Doug Nicholls jerseys on, which was quite nice. A nice little touch there.
There's always sort of weird things with them. Like the Suns one looked like they were wearing like a big belt, big black belt. And with ours, it looked like they'd just sort of half been dacked at the back because it had that light patch, which I think is interesting because like with those jerseys, they're wonderful works of art, but sometimes like it doesn't quite translate as well as a Guernsey. Yeah. But it doesn't really matter. It's sort of just like, I thought the Suns one was really good because it was big block of blue. And I think probably lending itself to a footy Guernsey would the bum bit and the solid colours because it's sort of, there was a lot of blue on both sides. But it was the jerseys, like looking at them, I think the Clash one is, I think I like that one the better of the two, the yellow based one.
Yes.
So
yeah, me too.
Hopefully
we'll see how
we get to see that next week.
Yeah, we will see that against Adelaide.
Because they're
the
cool.
Show. Make sure to follow and subscribe on your favourite podcast platforms.
All right, some votes?
Yeah, votes. Hard one. Really difficult.
Yeah.
I think I've got to go with Anthony Hudson here and say we take Lachie Neale for granted because I didn't even really consider him. I was like, yeah, he just ran around and did stuff and it was largely pretty good, but I didn't have him best on. Like he probably was. I don't know. I had Ashcroft best on.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you value the most, I suppose. I mean, I had Dunkley the 3, Neale the 2, and Ashcroft the 1, so it was a very, very midfield heavy votes. I thought the job Dunkley did on Rowell, plus the work he did on his own, was similar to the Cripps game. I mean, the influence wasn't quite as heavy, but to keep Rowell to 18 touches and 3 clearances, I think, which was fantastic, plus 29-30 of his own. Another great game from Dunks. Neale, obviously the Ashcroft medalist, and Will, one of his better games. Yeah,
Will Ashcroft seems to be, like when the game's kind of in a bit of sort of a shit fight, he tends to do pretty well.
Yeah.
It gets us out of trouble a lot, and it's like when the team's not playing as well. I know I say this about Daniel Rich, but that's normally like when the team's under the pump, Rich plays really well. But Ashcroft, he kind of plays well when the midfield aren't quite clicking, which can be really important because he crops up in times, getting like really, really important possessions. And I thought, chipped in with a goal. So you had Dunkley 3, Neale 2, Ashcroft 1.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought Neale was going with Rowell. He was trying to get to him at stoppage, but maybe they were doing a bit of a double up. So I think I had Ashcroft 3, Neale 2, and Danaher 1.
Yeah, fair enough.
So like that said, like I probably need to just pay a bit more mind to what Dunkley's doing because to me, like he just sort of goes about his stuff. Maybe it's symptomatic that both him and Neale, like I don't know if I would have given Lachie votes had he not won the medal. But it was hard. I think they were talking about it in the fourth quarter. Yeah. That was sort of like...
Yeah, good luck to the people voting,
Yeah. It's interesting because, it was a very kind of constant team effort. Everyone kind of chipped in. I think we had a lot of goal scorers again.
Yes.
Question for you. Has either Neale or Dunkley scored a goal this year?
Dunkley, no. Neale, maybe, but maybe not.
He might have done.
Yeah.
He might have done in maybe
one of the earlier rounds,
or even but really they've been kind of the glaring omissions from scoreboard pressure.
But I'm sure that will change and it will come. But it's a nice problem.
I'm not saying it's a detraction. I'm saying it's something to look forward to. In a similar sense of mentioning before, the idea of McCluggage kind of hitting his best form in the back half of the season. That could be extremely important when you start. Maybe there's a bit of a drop off from a few of the other players, but I think that there were a lot of possible ones in the 3-2-1.
Yeah, for sure. Darcy Wilmot was very stiff. Danaher was stiff for me, and even Bailey Humphrey from the Suns was stiff. He had a fantastic first half that did drop off.
Mr. Media Room.
Yes,
he seems a nice lad. Hopefully, he loses a lot of games against us in the next 5 to 10 years. So.
Just a quick one for you. Neale has kicked 1 goal 6 this year.
Yeah, right.
Yep, and he did kick that goal against the Bulldogs.
Well, it's no wonder I didn't remember that. But I think in that same game, Dunkley might have kicked 2 points as well. So
very, very possibly. I'm not making any changes unless Kadeen Coleman's glute is in fact a little bit more serious and Rich is ready to go. Other than that, no changes for me.
Can we get that guy a Lucozade sponsorship? Like, get him a bit of sugary water and stop going off the field. We like watching you play. Yeah, changes. I don't know. It's so hard because I do think that, as we've kind of discussed and as it's become kind of abundantly clear, Dev, Rob and Pryor definitely kind of on the outside looking in at this point in time. Breaks my heart a little bit, but I suppose the earlier you come to terms with it, the better.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It depends if we need anything in particular to come up against Adelaide and their team at the moment. They've got some pretty dangerous tools in Fogarty, Thilthorpe and even Tex Walker. So I think Harris, Jack Payne and Frog will do respective jobs on those guys, but they will be outmanned at some point down there. Isaac Rankin's been cleared of that bump, so he will play, and I think Stas will get that matchup again, which I'm looking forward to. I think it should be a good match.
Yeah, some interesting one-on-ones, particularly with that. You're looking at a bit of accountability from maybe some of the smaller mid-sized defenders that don't normally have it, because you'll have Rochelle drifting forward.
Saligo, Pedler.
Saligo.
Yeah. I really like Pedler as well. He's a dangerous footballer.
They've got a couple of pretty interesting fellas, and the team are going to have to be accountable because their kicking game, Adelaide's, is among the best when it's on. Their foot skills, almost as I was sort of saying with Jack Payne, putting the ball to the advantage, making the decision for the next person as they're going. It's impressive. They've definitely kicked on more so than probably they would have hoped.
If you're giving out jobs this week, and for argument's sake, Dunkley is the guy that's going to be stopping someone, do you go to someone like a Rory Laird who gets a lot of the ball and racks up clearances, or is it Dawson?
More Dawson for me.
Yeah, that's for me too. But the way he uses the ball, and now that he has been floating through the midfield as well, I think if you can stop Jordan Dawson from doing his thing, you go a long way to getting on top of Adelaide.
Yeah, there's been a bit of a obsession with the out ball, inside ball going outside, and Dawson's the guy that tends to be able to do that more so than Laird or Sloan. I think Sloan's playing really well, and Laird as well. So don't get me wrong, unless you're going to go toe to toe with all of them, which they might do. But Adelaide Oval, hey,
Yeah, some not fond memories of there lately.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion for sure. I think it'll be a really good game. And I think it's one that you might... two of the more attractive football styles, I think. If there's one thing I might say, so we talked a lot about teams detracting from the Lions style. Adelaide might not do that. They might want to just go their own game. We're playing at home. Let's show them what we can do. And that could be something that the Lions are able to capitalise on, because they might not have like a regressive style played on them, flooding the back line because Adelaide want to play. That could be a factor.
I think it would be to Adelaide's detriment if they did try to flood back and clog up our forward line. I think that wouldn't allow Adelaide to play their best footy.
You don't think you'll see Darcy Fogarty starting on the wing, drifting back in the first centre bounce?
No, I don't.
I agree. I think it would be a detriment, but it's also playing with fire a little bit. So, certain analogies have been made by me, reference to other sports, of teams that are willing to play and leave themselves a little bit open. So it could be a pretty open game. Could be a really fun watch, and could be one of the games of the season. I
mean, it's got that potential. It's a shame we have to wait till Sunday afternoon to have a look at it, but I'm very much looking forward to it.
Maybe they called it because, the broadcasters have been putting Collingwood on relentlessly on Sunday afternoon, which fixtures coming out for the back half of this year, they annoyed me. I tell you what, I got a bone to pick with the AFL. Collingwood been playing on Sunday afternoon forever. Collingwood versus the Lions, Friday night, the same day as my brother's wedding in Brisbane.
Piss up.
I was intending to go to the wedding and fly back because I was sort of like, well, Collingwood, they'll probably play them Sunday afternoon. But no, I will miss that game, which is annoying because I don't want to. But,
The old Marvel Stadium clash as well.
Yeah, since this picture makes none across the board. So, yeah, I think, maybe it'll be good closing out the round. I don't know what it means for us, our recording schedule, but I guess it's probably if we win and it's a thriller, then we're chatting.
Yeah.
If it's not, then we're probably just going to put this off until
we have to.
Yeah, but no, I think overall, it's enticing, I got to say.
It is, and I think the bye's coming at the right time, especially after the last couple of weeks. Obviously we've been winning, but I don't think we've been playing at our absolute best for 4 quarters of footy either of those weeks. So I think the bye's coming at a good time. We've got one big test before we get there, and I'm sure Adelaide will be looking to bounce back after their loss as well. So they're going to have a point to prove because they're teetering on the edge of the 8, as I touched on before. So it's going to be a cracker of a game, and the Twos, who we just assumed would be playing the Suns in the VFL.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, we're sorry.
I mean,
you gotta. Like, the listener needs to understand. It's taken us this long to figure out where we're playing most of our games as the first team. So the idea of playing Coburg,
it's a weird one. Oh. It was at Brighton Homes, which was good, but it was a big win, 117 points against the Coburg Lions, but it's the same players again. Jared Lyons with 44 touches and 1, including 10 clearances. Dev Robb, 39 and 1, 10 clearances. Matho, 35. Jasper Fletcher up there, getting a hell of a lot of the ball, 30 touches and 2 goals. Jacko Pryor, 23 and 2. But obviously the standout, Kai Lohmann, 7 goals, 1, and 22 touches to go with that as well. So the question that we did get when I solicited for it on Twitter was from Steve Truman, is how do we fit Lohmann in the team? And I guess the answer to that for me is probably if we decide to rest Jack Gunston, who has, he's been quiet on the stat sheet.
He looks pretty haggard, eh?
Yeah. So, but he's got a bye coming up as well. So I don't know if we rest him for a couple of weeks and recharge him for the back half of the season. It's more if your Link McCarthy goes down, Kai Lohmann straight in, or a Zach Bailey, one of those types. But it might be worth a look to rest Gunston and throw Lohmann in for a bit of a different looking forward line, sort of a few medium forward instead of 3 talls. Not sure.
That's an interesting point. It is worth noting that Gunston he did miss the trip to Adelaide on gather round.
Yes. Yes, he did.
But yeah, he's looking quite like, I understand he's had the passing of his father prior to the season. He took a lot of marks.
Yeah.
He took 13 marks. So I guess he had at least 13 touches, which is 13 more than I've had in an AFL career. Yeah, he looks laboured. Kicked a good goal. So yeah, maybe it is that. Maybe you'll see a slightly more dynamic forward line this week, possibly with the idea of travel. As you said too, the bye. Yeah, hard one.
I wouldn't be overly surprised if that change happens.
It could just be a little bit of reward for effort for Kai Lohmann. And I think, of the players in the forward line that you're like, okay, well, we're going to give you a rest. I think Gunston's probably the one that's like, well, I've won 1 billion premierships, so I don't really care.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like he's not going to take it as a personal affront. So, yeah, good point. Didn't think about it, but there we go. What that does do, it does take away the swinging Gunston back behind the ball when we need it. But I think if that's the reason that he's in your team, then you're kind of looking at the wrong functionality, I think. Maybe we'll see that. Hopefully. I'd love to see that. That'd be great.
Yeah, and I think Kai Lohmann will play a game this year. Under what circumstances, I don't know. And it's whether you pull that trigger on a danger game like this one against Adelaide away from home as well. So, you can afford to do that when you play a West Coast or a Hawthorn or something like that, and you can be relatively more comfortable in making that swap. But I wouldn't be surprised if it happens, that's for sure.
Make sure you follow us on socials. Just search for BL Fancast.
Hey, I did have a question without notice for you, and I guess it's on the theme of Sir Doug Nicholls round and Indigenous round and all that sort of stuff. Fave Indigenous player for the Lions and broader all time?
Darryl Wyatt.
Nice.
I don't really need to provide any kind of evidence nor context.
No, it's just completely subjective.
I mean, the idea of him playing for the Bears, kicking torpedoes from the boundary line for no reason other than the fact that he might, and then winning Mark of the Year for an absolutely disgusting mark.
And then holding the ball aloft one hand.
Yeah, wearing long sleeves. It's really endless. And also he's funny, way funny. And of all time, let me have a think about this. I'm going to have to go with Darryl Wyatt.
Okay.
We've established I don't really care about other teams, so Darryl Wyatt it is, with maybe a bit of Chris Johnson
Yeah, I was gonna lock in Jono for mine for the Lions, old Fitzroy boy and Brisbane Lions, obviously. Premiership hero, and then to push the boat out a little bit, all time I'm going to go Andrew McLeod. Bloody love watching Andrew McLeod as a young fella.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't give him enough credit. I mean, I know he won 2 Norm Smiths and back-to-backs, but he revolutionised the position he played in, and he was absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, interesting that we've gone for, keeping with the theme, the Brisbane and the Adelaide. I just remember a lot of the time as a kid seeing that number 23 for Adelaide absolutely tear us a new one at the Gabba quite a lot as a kid, being like, he had the same name as my brother, so it was like, Andrew, stop it.
You wouldn't have been alone in seeing him tear up teams. I'm sure there's a lot of scars out there from supporters of all clubs that have watched Andrew McLeod do a number on them.
I think a lot of people feel a bit stiff he didn't win a Brownlow, but let's be honest. Greatest player ever to play the game, Jason Ackermanis, won in lieu. So.
I'm sure Jason Ackermanis' brain is wired that somehow he's heard that. Oh, someone said something good about me. Best player ever. Yep, I agree.
Oh dear. No, but yeah, Darryl White he's a lot of people talk about generational talent or generational players. He was generational in a different way. You never really seen anything like him.
No.
Gosh, we've tried. Jared Brennan really tried.
Yeah, I was going to say him and Jared
like,
Brennan had a lot in sort of common. Was like, I don't need to be playing footy. In fact, I wouldn't mind just lying on a boat with a tinny in hand right now. But I'm here and I can do it. So here is a barrel from the boundary.
Funnily enough, I do see flashes of Darryl White in Darcy Wilmot. It's that kind of rangy, gangled kind of. It's as if his running style is laconic enough, but he covers the ground quickly. Because Darryl White was quick, and played well in big games. Although made some questionable third up decisions that may have cost goals. I can't remember. I mean, I do remember, but I can't remember who kicked the goal. So
I could very, very easily see myself in 5 years' time if someone asked me this question again, saying Charlie Cameron though as well. So he'll be right up there by the time it's all said and done. Yeah,
absolutely, but. I guess that's kind of, recency bias and justifiably so. And I think if you polled the however many members we've got, probably Charlie Cameron's winning in a landslide. So we've got to keep some for the historic and nostalgic players. So definitely have had conversations with Darryl White over the years, particularly in young years, and he was a lovely fella. So.
Certainly. And it's good to see him pop up every now and then on Yokai Footy on the AFL website when he does. So that's really good to see. And then Chris Johnson's doing, bits and pieces for Channel 7. So it's good to see those guys pop up and, stay amongst it when they can.
Do you reckon we'll ever see Chris Johnson do some sort of international rules correspondence?
I'd just be surprised if we saw international rules again, to be fair.
Oh, man, I love it. It's so good. It doesn't make any sense, but imagine like Chris Johnson just inexplicably, just to create heat, make him the coach.
Yeah, that would
and be like, so they can run over in I don't know what Channel Ireland, like running promo packages of just him coat hangering and then dropping 6 dudes, being like, "He's back." Sorry, he's back. I don't know how to do it. I think that was South African. Oh man, I think it would be good for it'd be a heat magnet.
It's good for a first appearance of some sort of accent on the show, which is good. We're breaking new ground all the time.
Look, I think you got licensed to do a bogan accent, which I've probably done to myself. But I've gone way off the boil here, haven't I?
Just to rub salt in the wound, Sandy Roberts, the whole night, called me Big Jeff Brown. Jeff, did he? Oh, no.
I'm about to spring something on you, which I'm fairly certain you haven't done. It's your turn to bring a nostalgic player.
Suck it, I have.
Hey, beautiful.
Albeit it was while I was making my coffee at about 8:59.
Lovely.
Jordan Burke.
Oh, yeah. I believe he's running a gym down in Byron Bay now.
Is he? That seems like something he might do.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Did he? How many games did he play in the end? He was fairly recent. He would have been like 2016, 2017-ish, wouldn't he?
Yeah, so I think he was just before... He kind of got culled just before...
2014, 2015. No, 6 games, 2 goals. So.
I think I was at the game he kicked 2 goals. I thought he was going to solve all of our key forward issues.
Spoiler alert, he did not.
Now he was interesting because he was a swing man. So he played swang. He swung back and forward. He was a bit of a swing man. So Morningside boy. He was tall, good height. Didn't play many games. I think he kind of had a bit of a breakout game where he kicked his sort of 2 goals or a goal. I think it was early on in the game. Can't remember who against.
It was against Adelaide. Having a quick look here.
It was against Adelaide.
Yeah.
Keeping with the theme.
Yeah, we've done well.
He did his shoulder, I think, in the game.
Oh, right.
Yeah, a bit of a what could have been, I reckon. Because he was the son of Damien Burke, who was our old ruck coach in the premiership years.
Sure.
Yeah, Damien Burke worked a lot with Crackers, Keating, I believe. And I think he played for Geelong and Brisbane in the 90s. And then was our ruck coach. So a father-son-ish. He only played 22 games for the Bears. But yeah, he did a lot of work with the team. And yeah, but Jordan didn't quite work out. But he did have a really good Mad Monday costume where he went in full hazmat suit a la Breaking Bad.
Ah, yes.
With someone else. Might even have been Matho. But yeah, interesting. It's funny when you have a player like that you think can solve problems, play 6 games, score 2 goals, and you never hear from him again. So a slightly forlorn, obscure player. Good luck finding a highlight.
Yeah, I'll give it a crack.
Tell you what, that Selwood Rance head clash. Oh,
it's pretty grim,
not
wasn't
good,
it?
Did you notice though? Just to put it on there, the commentary.
Oh, did I? What? And the 40-second bit I uploaded to socials pales in comparison to the full extended clip that's on YouTube. The commentary was all about, oh no, Alex Rance. And it was like, there's another dead guy next to him. Are you going to mention him at some point? It's like, oh no, Rance is no good. Oh, Alex Rance, he's done. Meanwhile, Troy Selwood, Yeah,
his brain might be coming out his nose. I'm like, what? Like, oh no, Rance is dead, and Selwood doesn't look like he's moved either. Like, oh god.
I guess
dealing with it for a long time, I guess.
Maybe you just expect that from a bloke with the last name Selwood at that point. So it's just like, oh yeah, no, he'll be right.
He probably ducked for contact or whatever. Did they know it was going to be his last game?
It wasn't his last game in the end. Actually, I went back and looked at it. He did end up playing a couple more after that game, so that wasn't his final moments, thankfully, but certainly one of the last games he played.
When are we going to get like a weird intern to come and fact check for us?
I think that's part of the charm of the show, is just getting things slightly wrong.
We do get kind of not bailed up, but we do get let known.
Yeah, good.
But we must remind that we are just 2 like morons that sort of say things without kind of backing them up a lot. So
having said that, there was another amendment that we should have made, is Scott Selwood never won a premiership as well. He joined West Coast just after, left them just before, joined Geelong just after, and left just before they won as well. So he missed out on all fronts.
Yeah, sucked in. Twice, apparently.
Yeah, so him and Troy both missed out in the end on premierships, but I guess at least Scott was in a semi sort of position to get himself there.
Yeah, but he didn't get to play with Brownie, so
he did not. Well, that's all I've got for the round just gone, and then the round moving forward. I'm really looking forward to this game against Adelaide in a weird way. I'm a touch nervy about it because I think it really is a danger game, but it will be a nice little test for us at the same state.
Yeah, it kind of shows. I think if we win, it shows more than if we lost. If you lose to Adelaide, it's not the biggest deal. Let's be honest, Collingwood somehow made it work through Adelaide just deciding not to kick properly.
Yep.
So another one for me on the Collingwood hate train. That Collingwood win, whilst yes, good, well done, you won by a point, but still that game should have been hosed. So stick with itness, maybe.
Yeah, and then I think it puts us into a really good position in the bye if we do manage to get the win of, what will we be? 9-2. It's hard to...
I think we thought of that as a bloody pipe dream back in the day.
We did?
We could go in 9-2. Because, we did, funnily enough, we did all of our talk about fixtures around the bye about 6 weeks ago, but we have got some relatively kind fixtures around the bye.
Yeah.
In that we play teams that are similarly buyed.
All right, well, that's another one in the books.
Yeah. I can't wait until the riveting content of the Brisbane Lions Fancast bye-week edition.
But I do want to leave you on one thing. You little beauty!